A judge insults Jasmine Crockett in open court. Minutes later, he is in handcuffs. It was a tense morning in court as Judge Thompson glared at Jasmine Crockett, his voice dripping with disdain. "So, Miss Crockett, you think you're above the law? You think you can just waltz in here and disrespect the court?" Jasmine, a fiery and outspoken congresswoman, stood tall, her eyes flashing with anger. "I'm not disrespecting the court, Your Honor. I'm simply exercising my right to free speech," she replied, her voice steady. "But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop a comment below and please like the video. Thank you." But Judge Thompson was having none of it. "You're a disgrace to the legal system, Miss Crockett. You're a perfect example of what's wrong with this country." He sneered, his face red with rage. The courtroom erupted into chaos, with Jasmine's supporters shouting in outrage and Judge Thompson banging his gavel, demanding order. But Jasmine remained calm, a sly smile spreading across her face. She knew she had the upper hand. She had been investigating Judge Thompson for months, gathering evidence of his corruption and misconduct. And now, she was ready to strike. "Your Honor," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "I think it's time we took a closer look at your record. I think it's time we exposed you for the corrupt, biased judge that you are." Judge Thompson's face turned white with rage, but Jasmine just smiled. She knew she had him right where she wanted him. And then, in a shocking turn of events, Jasmine dropped the bombshell. "Your Honor, I have evidence that you have been accepting bribes from wealthy defendants. I have evidence that you have been using your position to further your own interests." The courtroom erupted into chaos once again, with Judge Thompson shouting and pounding his fist on the bench. But Jasmine just stood tall, a triumphant smile on her face. And then, the unthinkable happened. The police burst into the courtroom, handcuffs at the ready. "Judge Thompson, you're under arrest for corruption and misconduct," one of the officers said, as they led him away in handcuffs. Jasmine watched, a satisfied smile on her face. She had done it. She had taken down a corrupt judge and brought him to justice. As she walked out of the courtroom, she was met with cheers and applause. She had proven once again that she was a force to be reckoned with, a true champion of justice and equality. And as for Judge Thompson, he was left to face the consequences of his actions. He was arrested and charged with corruption and misconduct, his reputation in tatters. It was a victory for Jasmine, but also a reminder that the fight for justice was never truly won. There would always be corrupt officials, always be those who sought to abuse their power, but with Jasmine on the case, they didn't stand a chance. As Jasmine walked out of the courtroom, she was met with a flurry of reporters and camera crews. They swarmed around her, asking for comments and interviews. Jasmine smiled, taking a moment to collect her thoughts before speaking. "Today was a victory for justice and accountability," she began. "Judge Thompson's actions were a betrayal of the public's trust, and he must face the consequences." The reporters nodded, scribbling furiously in their notebooks. Jasmine continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "But this is just the beginning. There are still many more corrupt officials out there, and we must continue to fight for justice and equality." As Jasmine finished speaking, a commotion broke out at the back of the crowd. A group of protesters, holding signs and chanting slogans, pushed their way to the front. "Jasmine! Jasmine!" they chanted, their voices growing louder. "We stand with you! We demand justice!" Jasmine smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. She raised her hands, and the protesters fell silent. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for standing with me. Together we can make a difference." As the protesters dispersed, Jasmine was approached by a tall, imposing figure. He was a man in his late 50s, with a stern expression and a sharp jawline. "Congresswoman Crockett," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "My name is Senator Davis. I've been following your work and I must say I'm impressed." Jasmine raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Senator Davis," she replied. "What can I do for you?" Senator Davis smiled, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "I think we can help each other, Congresswoman. he said. "I have a proposition for you. Are you interested?" Jasmine's curiosity was piqued, and she nodded for Senator Davis to continue. "I've been working on a bill to reform the justice system," he explained. "It's been stalled in committee for months, but I think with your support, we can get it passed." Jasmine's eyes narrowed, her mind racing with the possibilities. She had always been passionate about justice reform, and the opportunity to work with Senator Davis was too good to pass up. "I'm in," she said finally, extending her hand to seal the deal. Senator Davis smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Welcome to the team, Congresswoman," he said. "Together we're going to change the world." As they shook hands, Jasmine felt a surge of excitement and purpose. She knew that this was just the beginning of a long and difficult journey, but she was ready for the challenge. With Senator Davis by her side, Jasmine set to work on the justice reform bill. They worked tirelessly, rallying support from their colleagues and negotiating with opponents. Hard work, the bill came to a vote. Jasmine stood on the floor of the House, her heart pounding with excitement as the Speaker called for the vote. The results were overwhelming, with a majority of both parties voting in favor of the bill. Jasmine felt tears of joy streaming down her face as she hugged Senator Davis, basking in the glow of their triumph. As they walked out of the Capitol, Jasmine turned to Senator Davis with a smile. "You know, I think this is just the beginning," she said. Senator Davis chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "I think you might be right, Congresswoman," he said. "The world better watch out for Jasmine Crockett." And with that, Jasmine walked off into the sunset, ready to take on the next challenge and make her mark on the world.